Welcome to EMERJ TV with Reggie Smith. This podcast is about all things production for the people in front of the camera or behind the camera. Let's join Reggie right now for the discussion.
Hello, I'm having a conversation with Jackie Douglas. So Jackie, tell me about, well, first of all, Jackie is a director. She's an editor, writer, 13 jobs.
13 jobs?
You know, I've when I started out in production, I started as a in-house audio guy. The reason I got the job was I knew how to watch my VU meters.
Okay.
I'm going to date myself. Way back, I used to record my own 8-tracks and cassettes. And so I learned I learned what kind of tape I could push. Usually you wanted to record, you didn't want to go over 0.
Okay.
But there were times I could go over like +3 and I could get loud recordings and I thought it was cool, you know.
Yeah.
And so I took a photography course and learned how to take stills. I thought, because I always wanted to get in production. I always wanted to get into TV, and I thought if I can't do motion picture, I'll do stills.
Yeah.
And I got told about a job. It was a TV studio that was looking to hire somebody to take behind the scenes photographs. And I thought, okay, well, I'll go check it out. But when I went, it was a live TV studio, and they were on GPR, but it was still television.
Yeah.
And I talked to the director and I told him, well, I know how to watch my VU meters, because that was a problem that they had. People couldn't watch VU meters without, either distorting or the audio would be too low.
Sure.
And I thought, well, I can do that.
Okay.
So I went the first night and they did production. I was like, well, man, can I come back tomorrow? And came back the next night and came back the next night. And then the fourth night, I was like, well, wait a minute. I went on an interview, which was how I got in there in the first place. So I went to the owner and said, well, do I have the job or not? He said, you start tomorrow. So I started doing live on the air audio. Now I knew what I liked to hear.
Yeah.
So that was how I started. And they had a guy, turned out to be, he's my best friend, but we started a business together, and he was their #1 camera guy. And I thought, that's the guy that I got to beat, Quiet competition,
Yeah.
And learned how to do camera, got better at audio, started doing some sports things, got a little more diversified in my audio experience. We started the company, and we were doing a lot of single camera directing. And did that for a lot of years, then we got forward and we were doing that. And then I also wanted to do multi-camera directing. So my resume is in-house and location audio, camera, directing, single camera, multi-camera. I know how to edit, but I'm not an editor. There's a difference.
Right.
And so I understand about you having, director, actor, editor, and who knows whatever else.
Yeah.
But how did you come to that? What was your intro into it?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like I'm still at my intro into it, like very legitimately. But I think generally my desire to get into production as a whole started early on with everybody's kind of start place of watching movies and realizing that that's a job that you can actually do, that it doesn't have to be just I don't just have to enjoy this. I could be behind the camera on that kind of stuff. Yeah. I was probably in my early teens, maybe tween era, around the time that DVDs started having behind the scenes footage and stuff on them. And it was the realization of no, this is what they're actually doing. This is all of that magic that I see and enjoy and love.
Right.
Because my mom was very much the movie watcher. And we would just sit together and watch stuff all day long. So I already got so much out of it. And then to get the background made it that much better. And then very shortly thereafter, which is I guess why I'm grateful for the timeline that I'm in, I was able to have like school computers and stuff that have those little editing software things on there and stuff. And so you could play around with stuff and have your own camera, like a little handheld camera, and do whatever. I went to like my senior year of high school. They had a split program that I could take.
Yeah.
And so I would spend half the day at like a vocational school just studying like digital media stuff. So like you said, like photography. So we did photography. We did like film photography, actual like legitimate celluloid, and learned how to like
splicing. On a splicing block.
Oh well, not like film like
like Super 8. Okay.
Not that. We didn't get that intense. But like still photography film.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Learned how to like develop that. We did digital, we did videos. We went through everything over the course of like, I think a semester. And that was the point at which I was like, oh no, this is like actually what I can do. And
this was in school?
Yeah, this was still in high school. And it was.
I'm going to tell you why I say wow in a second.
Yeah, it's a really good program. But at that time, I don't think I had quite the gumption that I guess that I needed at 18 years old to like go straight out and like get into it.
Yeah.
So I delayed myself a little bit. I went to college and started doing stuff in the college for it, and those were always my favorite courses, were just like filmmaking and audio stuff and all of those little things. Went to Specs Howard, and that was the point at which I was like, okay, I'm locked in. And I think the benefit of like, not to give them too much of an up, but the benefit of Specs Howard is like they are selling getting you a job.
Right.
And so like by the time I got through that course, they like put me in, and I was just like a side, a guy who just needed an editor to like start his internet career. And that was basically all I did. And that was like the first step of like, this is sort of like not a real job. I'm just in this office and he wants me to edit videos for him.
Right.
And that was the thing that got me rolling. So yeah. I think editor is where I started, but I have like branched out into several different things at this point.
See, the reason I said wow is because, excuse me, when I was in school, the closest you came to any type of film or video production was AV class, which was roller wall and sack or the Bell and Howell projector down to the classroom, and that was it.
Yeah.
We had a open reel, I think it was a 4-track recorder, whatever it was, that we kind of played around with, but that was it. And I didn't know what I wanted to do when I was in high school. I always liked technology, TVs and stuff like that. I remember when I was a little boy, back then, I'm going to date myself again, TVs had horizontal and vertical hold. And so horizontal hold was horizontal, and those of you who know, horizontal, it would roll up this way, and so you had to roll it until it would lock into place. And vertical was it would scroll.
I've heard of this, yeah.
So we would go over my relative's house, and they would have it all just jacked way out, and it was scrolling real fast. And so but they would have the TV on. So I guess I was about 5, 6, 7 years old. And I was like, well, why are they watching TV? But the vertical horizontal hold is, I mean, it was like really scrambled. And so I thought, so I'm sitting there and we're listening to TV, and I thought, this is boring. So I just got up, and I had several relatives' houses that I did this at. I got up, I walked to the TV, I adjusted the vertical, I adjusted the horizontal, adjusted the vertical. Then as I would see one of them slowing down, I said, okay, now I see which one to adjust. Yeah. And I would adjust it, and then I would get it where you could see a picture, and I'd just go sit down. Yeah. And I'd hear them tell my parents, Reggie fixed our TV. And I was like, and I'd be thinking, no, I didn't. I just adjusted and I was always handy that way. Sure. I kind of did myself a disservice because as I got older and started learning how to do things, I wouldn't read instruction manuals. I would just do it. And so when I got into stereo equipment, some of the way things were wired, they weren't as straightforward as I thought. So things didn't work right. And then when I finally get them in, I was like, oh, But that's how I really kind of got interested. And I thought, well, being in television or shooting movies and directing, I thought that's kind of cool. But at the time, like there were schools in Michigan, but like my parents, they were from the South, and then like my father worked in the factory, my mother was a homemaker, so they didn't even know anybody. My mother told me, we don't know anybody that's in television, so, but my entrance into this profession was I had got a job.
Yeah.
And I got interested in single camera directing, and my business partner, he's a film guy. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I say film guys is because film people usually don't like video. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then video people, they don't necessarily care for film. But I understand why, because film, the lighting is more textured and things like that. So having a business partner that was more into film, my lighting, to know when lighting was good, mm-hmm. developed. Mm-hmm. And backgrounds had textures and there were shadows and things like mm-hmm. that, But I know when lighting is good, I don't know how to get it.
Okay, yeah.
So we hired, like when we got forward, we hired guys. We used to do, there was a company boy, I'm dating myself. There was a company called New York Carpet World, mm-hmm. and they were really, they had like sale-ins Wednesday, sale-in Saturday. Mm-hmm. And so we started doing those commercials. Mm-hmm. I was hired to do audio. And the lighting company that they used was Roadrunner camera cars. Mm-hmm. So we worked with them for a few years. So when we got forward, well, I thought, well, shoot, hire Roadrunner camera cars because they know lighting. They've been doing it like 30 years. I had only been in the business about 8 or 9. Mm-hmm. So working with them, I learned what good lighting was, which I still do. I still don't know how to get it.
Yeah, yeah.
But, my forte was audio and camera, and then like I was leaning more into directing. Mm-hmm. But just as far as formal education, majority of the people that I have worked with have gone to college. Yeah. And I think, well, man, how much more would I know if I had gone to college? But what I made sure I have done through my whole career is listen. Yeah. And because I know people that have gone to college and, they became accountants or just I've worked with people like, well, what did you learn in school?
Yeah. I feel like I have had a lot of back and forths about going to college mm-hmm. because, like I said, I went for a while. I left after a period of time, mm-hmm. and then I went to Specs Howard. And I do think that there's value and something to be had from going to college in certain experiences. Mm-hmm. And I think that like you probably could have, and I could have benefited from a different program, because the college that I went to wasn't necessarily it had a program for that, but it wasn't.
But that's not what it was.
Yeah, it wasn't the school for filmmaking. Mm-hmm. But I also think even based off of what I learned at college and at Specs Howard, there's still so much that I learned now, as an editor. Even yesterday I had a project that I had to do. And speaking of lighting specifically, because it's a thing that I'm learning that I like and enjoy a lot more than I thought that I did.
Really?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun when you have the time to actually play with stuff and get things together. I really enjoy it. And we ran into an issue of lighting for daylight. We were in a room with big windows mm-hmm. in there, and mm-hmm. So there was already a bunch of light coming in on our subject, but her back was to the window, so we had to light her face so that it looked like this is just how this room looks. And we spent all of this time. It was it's too cool, it's too hot, and figuring it out. But just off of the stuff that I have learned before this, we were able to get to a place where I was someone else might still would have had that in a second. But those moments of I figured it out, and that's something else that I've learned that I wouldn't have necessarily come in contact with. That wouldn't have been just a specific lesson necessarily at school, but I know it now, mm-hmm. and I probably know it better because were it just a lesson at school, I wouldn't have the real world connection to it.
And see, and that was the class that my business partner and I said would be really handy for mm-hmm. college, is the real world class. Mm-hmm. Because in school, Everything is antiseptic. You know, you plug in the microphone.
Yeah.
You plug it into the mixer, plug it into the mic, put it in the mic stand. Everything works. Or what if there's a 60 cycle hum?
Yeah.
You know, or if the audio, for some reason, the audio level is too high, you know, things like that.
Yeah.
One thing that first of all, I learned to keep my mouth shut. When you keep your mouth shut, people don't know what you don't know. And so I was working at a one company. I was a freelancer, and they were talking about an audio pad. And I was like, audio pad? And I'm thinking, pillows? You know? But I didn't say anything. I worked, and they would say, we're going to put a 30 dB pad on here. And I was like, I have no idea what that is, but I just ran audio, and as far as they knew, you know, I was one of their top audio guys. You know? And then later on, there was a place called, it was on Schoolcraft, and they sold audio adapters and things like that. And they had audio pads, and then I actually saw what one was. And some of them had switches. I was like, okay, this makes sense. It was basically, it's an attenuator.
Yeah.
But what you learn and when you learn, it's kind of like driving a car, getting your driver's license. You learn what to do.
Yep.
When I got my driver's license, what the instructor told me is now is your opportunity to learn how to drive. Because you're going to be in different situations. So when you get out there where you're on the set, and one thing I have always prided myself in doing is I always hire people who are much better at it than I am.
Yeah.
Because I figured if I'm the smartest person in the room, we're working at a disadvantage.
Sure.
Because if I don't know how to solve it, and you know, and like you and I, you have a job at a particular organization, and I'm a volunteer there.
Sure.
And things come up. Well, how are you going to do this? How are you going to handle that? You know, I'm one of the directors there.
Yeah.
And different things come up. But now, see, I can draw on experiences I've had and say, okay, I'll do it this way and do it that way. And the interesting thing about it is, majority of the things that I've come up with, I learned from somebody else. And so it looks like, well, wow, you just know how to do everything. It's like, no, I've seen this before. You know, so with the lighting now, I'm not interested in. I love audio more. You know, if I had to choose between the two, it would be audio.
Okay.
But lighting, I've done it. You said you came up, you know, with the way to do it.
Yeah.
The first thing I thought about when you told me about lighting for daylight is gels or or filters, you know, and that kind of thing. But when you don't have them, or I'm not saying you specifically, but when you don't know about them, you still have to
work your way around.
Come up with something. So
no, and I agree. I think that in a lot of ways, I have grown more off of experience than I did in school, because I do think that that's specifically the way that I learned best is hands-on stuff. But also, there is just something different and more satisfying about being in a situation in which I'm doing it. I kind of surprisingly, in the right context, because it can become too tight and I sort of like freeze up, but under the right conditions, when there's just enough push, like my back is just enough against the wall that I have to figure it out, like I do better with that. And I need to do that. So, and I think the other side of it, like you're saying with college now, it's so much less necessary, because I also spend time like on YouTube watching like, you know, DPs who do commercials and do stuff like that, and have them like run through all of the stuff. So even if I'm not to a place yet where I'm working on big sets and we're doing like, you know, $1 million commercials, but I'm seeing it. And that is a benefit, because it helps me now when I'm doing my little, you know, short films, my budget shorts, because I have some of the knowledge that I would only get from shooting for a big company or with somebody with extra experience. So yeah, I think that that is right now, honestly, my favorite part, because I think the level of newness that I still have of it, it's like every project, there's something different that I get out of it.
Every time.
Yeah.
It's like fingerprints. So now, what is your specialty? Is it directing? Have you decided what that is, or
I mean, right now, I would say my specialty is still writing. Because
Really?
I think, yeah, I tend to be a person who works best with like within myself. And writing and editing are the two things that you can kind of do without any level of help. Once it gets farther out, like the acting and the directing and all of that stuff, that's all collaborative. So I'm learning and getting better at working with other people and sharing the vision by the time it gets to a set.
Right. Right.
But I think right now, with the experience that I have, I feel confident with the words that I put on a page and that I can tell a story there. I think I'm getting better. I would love to say very soon that my specialty is directing and being able to speak to people and being able to really communicate the vision. I would also like to be really better at the camera than I am, but I know that you kind of have to pick and choose like where you go. So I would say writing first, and then I'm going for directing as my second.
I have held writers to a very high standard over the past, I'd say maybe 5 or 6 years. Because, for years we watched TV like, this person's so stupid. How did I do that? Why did I go in the room? And now I'd be like, they wrote it like that. I have stopped watching TV shows because I thought, these writers just think I'm stupid. And I'm not saying the writing is stupid. It's just that my level of, well, first of all, I'm in the industry, and so my level of expectation has really grown.
Yeah.
And so it's not necessarily that something is bad writing, although there is such a thing as bad writing. I like writing that they'll give me a left turn, a hard left turn. The bigger left turn, the better I like it. If I don't see it coming, and I'm blindsided, I was like, this is cool.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, writing. You kind of writing and directing is kind of the same thing, because you're putting your view out there. Yeah. Like when I'm directing, I'm basing it on whether it's single camera or multi-camera. This is what I think.
Yeah, your interpretation.
They should see, right? And so people are seeing my interpretation. But it's kind of interesting that you said writing, because I expected you to say more directing than anything. Although if you've been writing longer,
Yeah, I would say largely right now because I've been writing longer. And like I said, I feel more confident in that. I feel like I feel good about what I can put on a page. I also think there's so much more communication that goes into directing that I'm working out, because like I said, you get into the collaborative nature of film and production generally. And so like you said, it's your vision, but it's your vision as interpreted to this person. So even if I say to my actor, I see this character as a, middle-aged mom with, whatever, struggle with kleptomania. That still doesn't mean that like the way that they portray it is going to be the way that I see it in my mind, because they still have to like interpret it back through their lens too. And I'm learning how to like work with that and recognize that everybody's experience of it will be different. So that I can communicate it as closely and we can get as close to the same page as possible early on, but also to leave room for the fact that like I might have an idea in my mind and think that that's a good idea, but the actor can come in and like have like a way better like space for it. So I'm like, okay, no, I can leave that to them and they'll work it out and they'll clean something up like really well for me and make it that much stronger. So it's the communication portion of directing that I'm still figuring out. And I haven't done, like, I've only done a few projects. You've caught me really early on, this is why I'm here for this. But like, no, because I've only done a few, I feel like that's one of the other things that I get better at every time of like, I could have said this better, or I think that this really worked well.
Right.
And how do different people respond to different like encouragement or silence or, more notes or less notes.
Yeah.
All of that makes a difference.
Well, one thing, I worked on a sitcom and they had to go through a lot of takes because I kept laughing, but what I did was I went to the actor, like one guy was a womanizer. Excuse me. And so I went up to him, I said, does your character know he's a womanizer? And he said, no. And so when I asked him that, I was asking him that to give him a little more insight into what that character thought. Because there are people, like I say, does a villain know he's a villain? You know? So, but it was what their intentions are. There was another guy, it was like the womanizer, the guy that was kind of normal, had the regular job, and then the sidekick, goofy sidekick. Yeah. And they met this girl, and I told him, I was asking him, I said, does he think he's as cool as his friends? And he said, yeah. And so we were getting ready to shoot a scene where they were going to meet this girl for the first time. So I told him, I said, instead of kissing her hand, sniff it really hard, And so the cool guy kissed her hand, and then the regular, and then he went, thinking that was as cool as they were, but really it was really awkward and kind of yucky,
Absolutely.
But that was what I was trying to bring out of that character,
right?
One of the coolest jobs I worked on was, and this is what made me want to direct, was the director worked with the talent and he took them through their scenes, and then he handled the technical part and told us what our shots were.
Yeah.
I thought that was the coolest thing, you know? And so that's what made me want to really get into directing, but then directing people also when I saw him do that.
Yeah.
But I don't know, writing is you're putting yourself out there, directing is putting yourself out there. The only difference is directing, like you said, you work with a crew. Yeah. So you have multiple people trying to bring your vision to pass, which a lot of times is easy. Like I've worked with crews where everybody, their goal was to get to the end result and that kind of thing. Yeah. But it's kind of interesting. So, but anyway, what I like to do is in this video right now, and we'll come back and talk some more about directing and that kind of thing. Yeah. I appreciate you all watching. If you hear anything, hopefully, first of all, you heard something that you can use, and if you're interested in coming in and having a conversation with us, reach out to me on the Facebook page. Just send me a message or send me an email at EMERJ.TV@gmail.com. But anyway, we'll look forward to seeing you in the next episode.
Thank you for watching EMERJ TV with Reggie Smith. Join us next time for more discussions on all things production. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.